Well, good morning. Thanks for being with us today. We are so glad to have you with us wherever you might be joining us from, whether it's at one of our campuses, our Greece campus, or Rondequoit campus, Webster campus, maybe you're watching us online. We are glad to have you here today, and we are in week 3 of a 5-week series that we have titled Fighting FOMO, fighting this fear of missing out. And FOMO is it's an acronym. It's a trendy acronym that has been made popular due to technology and social media's influence on our lives today. And so what we've been doing throughout this series is we've been talking about that FOMO, and we've been talking about how it impacts different areas and different parts of our lives. And as we jump in today, I'd love to invite you to turn with me in your Bible to John 13. If you're using one of our Bibles at one of our campuses, you can find that on page 875. So we've been talking about FOMO, and it's that acronym. It's popular today because of social media's influence on our lives, and it's causing us to constantly want to check our status, our update, our social media platforms to see what's happening, what's going on, and we check it over and we check it over and over and over again. And here's what's interesting about FOMO. I don't know if you know this or not. FOMO is so popular today that it was actually recently added to the Oxford English Dictionary back in 2013. In a recent study, it actually defined FOMO this way. It says that FOMO, it's the uneasy and sometimes all-consuming feeling that you're missing out, that your peers are doing in the know about or in possession of more or something better than you. That's FOMO. And we all struggle with FOMO, whether you're into technology or not, whether you have a social media account or not, you struggle with FOMO. FOMO has been around for a long time. In fact, we've been talking about it this way throughout this series, that it's a new name for an old sickness. It's an ancient problem with a powerful modern trigger. We all have FOMO. I see it in my own life all the time. I see it in my kids' life regularly. In fact, my son Landon, he's 3 years old. He has a serious case of FOMO. His big issue right now is that wherever dad is, that's where he wants to be. So if we're at home and I'm out in the back doing something and Landon is inside and he figures out that dad is in the backyard, he immediately is like, where's dad? Why is dad in the backyard? What's dad doing in the backyard? Can I go in the backyard? Why can't I go in the backyard? I want to be with dad. How can I get in the backyard? He's got a serious case of FOMO. And we might say, yeah, okay, that's cute. It's cute to see in little kids. But the reality is that FOMO stays with us throughout our lives. And Landon is demonstrating what all of us have. It's just that as we get older, we get better at masking it. As we get older, we get a little bit better at hiding that FOMO in our lives. And I think, when we think about this issue of fear of missing out that all of us have, I think the reason we have this FOMO is because we have these deep internal questions that we are wrestling with within our hearts. I think if we're willing to be honest, I think all of us have wrestled with questions like this that are at the root of FOMO. Questions of okay, will I be remembered? Will anything I accomplish in life be significant or of value? Do my friends love me? Does my family love me? Do I have enough friends? Am I lovable? Am I significant? And I think if we're willing to be honest, I think we could all agree that we've all wrestled with a few of those questions at one point or another in our lives. So what we're trying to do throughout this series is not just simply say, okay, how do we overcome FOMO, right? How do we overcome FOMO? We don't want to just do that. We also want to talk about and go a little bit deeper and say, what are my fears telling me? What are my fears telling me about what I believe? What I believe about myself? What I believe about relationships? What I believe about the world around me? What I believe about God? What I believe about the way I view life? So throughout this series, we've been trying to poke around a little bit at some different areas in our life to surface some of these questions, and yet at the same time, we want to try to provide some very clear, practical answers to those questions. And so week 1, Jonathan, he kicked us off talking about contentment. Last week, Scott, he talked about authenticity. And today, I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about how our fear of missing out is impacting our relationships. And it's impacting every one of our relationships. You see, it's crazy to think about this, but it wasn't maybe 15, 20 years ago, our relationships looked way different They looked a lot different than they do right now. You see, 15 to 20 years ago, when it came to relationships, we had all of these individual and separate realities when it came to relationships, right? We had like family here, we had our friends over here, we had like work relationships over here, we had like church or other group kind of stuff over here, recreation, hobby kind of stuff over here. And they were all separate individual realities. But now that's just not the case anymore. Now we have all of those realities with us wherever we go on our phones. And in fact, an example, when it comes to work relationships. Now, when it comes to work, when you're on vacation, you're not really on vacation anymore. Hate to tell you that. Now you're just at work in another location with just more free time on your hands. Right? That's the reality of where we live, because work is just never more than a few feet away, right? It's right here. That angry customer, that question, that concern, that phone call, it's just never more than a few feet away. And I know this. I just got back yesterday from a week of family vacation, and I felt that tension of like wanting to reply, wanting to respond. When it comes to relationships, it's changed, because now our friends, they are with us wherever we go, and we have this snapshot into their life of what's going on and what's happening, and we see their posts, we see their pictures, we share parts of our lives. And we talked about this. One of the downsides to social media is that we're constantly seeing everyone else's highlight reel, and we compare it to our current reality, and our current reality never measures up to the highlight reel that we see in other people. So technology, it is changing the way that we do relationships. And so should we just bash technology? Should we blame social media? This is Facebook's fault. I don't think we should do that. I think we need to start by looking at ourselves. We need to blame ourselves for how we have used technology, for how we have used social media, because there's some incredible advantages when it comes to social media. There's some incredible advantages when it comes to technology. Here's just a few of them. Now you have the ability to talk to anyone just about anywhere on your smartphone. Now you have the ability to do video chat, whether through FaceTime, Skype, Google Hangouts, whatever you want to use, with anyone just about anywhere in the world, and like high quality video. In fact, my older sister, she lives in Detroit, and she has a daughter. She just turned 1 a few months ago, and my family, we weren't able to be in Detroit, but we were able to be there virtually through FaceTime. And so even though we weren't able to be there physically, we were able to be there and just celebrate with my niece as she opened up some of her presents. That's a benefit of technology. One of the benefits of social media is now you can share parts of your life with friends or with family. You can share photos. You can share videos through Facebook. That's a great benefit. Several months ago, it was back in February, my wife Emily and I, we had a chance to go to Israel with a group from Northridge Church. And while we were in Israel, at the end of each day, just about every day, we had a chance to upload some photos to some family back home that was tracking with where we were at, wanted to know what we were doing each day. That's a benefit of social media. If you're a businessman or you're a businesswoman, now you have the opportunity to read a bedtime story to your kid every night, even if you are out of the state traveling on business. I have friends that met each other online, and now they are married through a dating site. You can stalk your daughter's boyfriend on Facebook. That's a benefit of technology. Look, and you may laugh or chuckle at that, but you all know you've creeped on somebody. You've all stalked somebody on social media. That's a benefit of technology. But here's the point. With any tool, with any resource, anything that can be helpful, there's also this side that can do some harm. It can do some damage, right, if we're not careful. And so today, I want to talk about relationships and how FOMO impacts our relationships. And before I really dive into this, what I want to do is I just want to kind of pause for a moment and have us all just kind of think about this one question. This question is, how is technology changing your relationships? Just think about this with me for a moment. And don't just brush right past this question. I want you to think about this question in regards to you and your life. Don't think about this as some big social problem our world is struggling with today. I want you to think about this in terms of your life, your relationships. How is technology changing your relationships? Think about that question. And as we think about this question more, what I want to do is I want to think about this question in light of Jesus' words here in John 13. So you should be in John 13 already. And let me just give you kind of the backdrop. Let me give you the context for what's going on here in John 13. But here in John 13, we see that Jesus, he's with his disciples. And these are just 12 guys, common, ordinary guys, that view Jesus as their teacher. They view Jesus as their leader, and they're with Jesus during his final Passover meal. It's often referred to as the Last Supper. So Jesus, he's with his disciples here, and at the end of John 13, he describes to his disciples what his desire for their lives are to look like in the world around them. But before he describes what their role is to look like in the world, Jesus does something incredible. It's an incredible act of love. It's an incredible act of service. And Jesus actually washes the feet of the disciples. And I think it's easy for us in our world and culture today to kind of skip right through that and be like, oh, that's just kind of weird, but okay, that's cool, whatever. But the reality is, in this culture, you got to understand what a stunning, self-sacrificing move this was by Jesus to his disciples. You see, in this culture, people of nobility, they had slaves. They had servants who would wash the feet of people. But here you have the very Son of God washing the feet of not even nobles. He's washing the feet of just 12 common, ordinary, sweaty, dirty-footed guys here. And then look at what he says to them right after he washes their feet. Look at verse 34. Jesus, he says this, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this," Jesus said, "everyone will know that you are my disciples if you what? If you love one another." What I love about these words here by Jesus is not just what he says, but I love what Jesus doesn't say here. Notice Jesus doesn't say, look, the world will know that you are my disciples if you're at church every single Sunday. Or the world will know that you're a follower of mine by how many Bible verses you've memorized. Or they'll know that you're a Christian. The world will know that you are a follower of mine if you have a bumper sticker or if you have a Jesus fish on the back of your car. Oh, that's not what Jesus says. Jesus said the world will know that you are a follower of mine by the way you treat other people, by the way you love other people, by the way you do relationships. Jesus is saying the world will know that you're a follower of mine by the way that you love one another. So as we think about this question, how's technology changing your relationships? I think we need to ask it this way. How is technology changing the way we love one another? How is technology changing the way that you love one another? The way that we live, we're supposed to live out this command that Jesus has given to us. And so what I want to suggest to you today is I think there's three big issues that are impacting our relationships today. These aren't the only issues, but these are three significant ones in my mind. And the first issue is this. It's that the term friend is evolving. The term friend is changing. It is. You see, 15, 20 years ago, a friend was someone you knew face to face. A friend was someone you did life with, you shared life with, you met with face to face regularly. But now that's just not the case anymore. It's just not. Now a friend is someone who follows you on social media. In fact, there's different types of social media friends. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's one type of friend, right? It's the friend that follows you, but you don't follow them back. That's a type of friend. Another type of friend is someone that you're following, but they don't follow you back. And then there's a third kind of friend. The third kind of friend is where you're following that person and then they're following you back. So the term friend is changing. The term friend it's evolving. In fact, I came across some interesting stats about the average Facebook user. But did you know that the average Facebook user has 338 Facebook friends? That's a lot of people. That's a lot of friends. But yet at the same time, the average Facebook user would also say they only have 2 close friends, meaning someone they know deeply, someone they know intimately, they have a close relationship with. But here's what's crazy, is that 25% of Americans would actually say they have 0 close friends. So this is a real issue. You may say, look, I have 338 Facebook friends, but yet at the same time, you might also say, look, there's really no one in my life that knows me in a deep, personal way. I have 0 close friends. So I think this is a real issue, and I think we could argue all day long. We have lots of online activity, but when it comes to personal connection and intimacy and closeness with people around us, it's very limited. So this is a big, real issue. In fact, as I was thinking about my message today, I was thinking about this question. It struck me. But when was the last time When was the last time you showed up at someone's house, a friend's house, unannounced? You just decided, you know what, we're going to hop in our car and we're just going to go over to so-and-so's house and we're going to show up. And that was a welcome surprise by your friend. You see, many of us, we no longer have friends in our lives where we can just go and do that spontaneously and go hang out with some friends of ours. And technology, right, it's supposed to save us time, but yet it seems like we have even less time for the things in life that matter the most. So we have lots of online activity, right? But it doesn't mean we have personal intimacy. So issue number one, the term friend is evolving. Issue number two, I would say, is this, that we're addicted to immediate affirmation. We are addicted to immediate affirmation. In other words, if I'm feeling a little bit lonely right now, if I'm feeling a little bit lonely, all I need to do is just grab my phone. I just, snap a selfie, right? And I can upload that bad boy to Instagram or to Facebook. And if I come back, maybe 5 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now, I may have a couple of likes. And, also, I might even have a comment or two, saying, whoa, Nate, looking good today, bro. Looking sharp, loving that shirt, the hair, hashtag that beard though, right? Totally, man, there's some man points there with that beard. I could get some immediate feedback from people helping me feel better about myself. And here's what's interesting. What's happening is we are becoming addicted to this immediate feedback. In fact, scientists will actually tell you that social media, it releases a chemical in your brain called dopamine. Dopamine is tied to a number of different addictions that people struggle with. But it's releasing this chemical where we're addicted to this immediate feedback of like, what did they say and who commented and did she like my post? She never likes my post. Why doesn't she like my post? I'm never going to like her posts anymore. And we've become addicted to this immediate feedback. And here's what we're doing. What we're doing is we're meeting the short-term need, but we're deferring a long-term intimacy. We're meeting this short-term need, but we are deferring a long-term intimacy, an intimacy into the future. In fact, sociologists, they have a label for this today. They call this deferred loneliness. It's true. It's actually a label out there where we feel lonely, we post something, we say something, we get immediate feedback, and so it meets this short-term need, but yet at the same time, we're deferring a longing for intimacy into the future. I love the way Scott said it last week. He said it this way: we're living for likes, but we are longing for love. We have become hooked on, we are addicted to immediate affirmation, and it is changing the way that we do friendship. It's changing the way that we do relationships. So issue number one, the term friend's evolving. Issue number two is that we are addicted to immediate feedback. And then the third issue is this, that we have the power to do friendship on our own terms. We have the power to do friendship on our own terms. Another downside of social media is that we kind of have the power to define our online relationships. Let me give you a few examples. For example, say my friend Mike, say he texts me. I have a couple of options, right? I can choose to read that text right away, read it later, or not read it at all. Or once I read it, then I have the power to determine a few things. I can say, okay, I'm going to respond right now, or I'm going to let him wait a little bit and I'll respond in 3-4 hours, or maybe I'm just going to ignore it completely. I have the power. I'm in control of that relationship. When it comes to Facebook, we are in control of those online relationships. So let's just say my friend Dave. Let's say my friend Dave posts another comment about the Red Sox on Facebook. I have the power to determine a few things. Number one, is that post like-worthy or not? Definitely not like-worthy. I also have another option, right? I can determine, okay, is that post worth the extraordinary inconvenience of me tapping my finger on it and leaving some sort of reply, or am I just going to scroll right on by that bad boy? I'm scrolling right on by that bad boy. However, I don't know if you know this or not, on Facebook you have the ability now to react to people's posts using emojis. So that one would probably get like that angry, mad-faced, emoji. But I'm in complete and total control of these online relationships. And I'll tell you what I want to tell you. I'll show you the parts of my life that I want to show you. And if you post too many duck-faced selfies, if you post too many things about your product, your job, your family, your political stance, whatever it might be, I will unfriend you. I will unfollow you. We are in control of these online relationships, and that control is changing the way we do friendship. It is impacting our relationships. So these are the three big issues. The term friend is evolving. We're addicted to immediate affirmation. We have the power to do friendship on our own terms. And I think it's safe to say, I think it's fair to say that we are more connected than ever before, but yet at the same time, we can feel more alone than ever before. So what do we do? What do you do when you're feeling connected, but yet at the same time you feel alone? And here's what I want to encourage you to do. In fact, if there's one thing you walk away from this talk with today, I would hope it would be this statement. It's a simple statement, but it's this: to practice the power of presence. There's one thing you walk away with from our time together today. I would hope it would be this: practice the power of presence. What I want to do is I want to kind of spend the rest of our time together trying to unpack this and talk about what this looks like in our lives. And as we think about this, I love what the author of Hebrews says in Hebrews 10. He says this in verse 24. He says, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds." Another translation of this is, let's think of ways to encourage one another, meaning let's be active in this. Let's not be passive, but let's think of ways that we can encourage one another in our relationships. He continues in verse 25. He says this: "Not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing." Here's what I love about this. It's really kind of hard to explain, but there is something incredible, mysterious, there's something powerful that happens when followers of Jesus come together and meet face to face. There is something powerful that happens when followers of Jesus come together and they share life with one another. They open up about life with one another. They do life together. They pray with one another. They pray for one another. They come and they meet together. There is something powerful that happens that you just cannot experience all by yourself alone. There's something powerful that happens that you cannot experience in front of a computer screen or in front of your phone. And what the author of Hebrews is telling us is, look, you need to practice the power of presence. And what I love about this is that the author of Hebrews, he's telling Christ followers 2,000 years ago that they need to practice the power of presence. So it's still the same thing today. We need to be reminded of the importance of practicing the power of presence. Don't settle by living your life in front of a screen. Don't miss out on the power of being with people. As a church, we love technology. We love social media, and we want to leverage technology and social media for the sake of making more and better followers of Jesus. In fact, some of you right now, you're watching our online stream, and maybe you're sitting in bed right now in your PJs. Maybe you're in your family room, or maybe you're away on vacation in a hotel and you want to keep track with what's going on here on Sundays at Northridge. We love that. That's an incredible benefit of technology, but that should never replace you coming together and meeting at one of our campuses. Why? Because presence is powerful. We say all the time around here that circles are better than rows, that community groups are a vital part, they're a vital piece to what we're trying to accomplish here at our church. In fact, we'll go as far to say that, look, if you attend Northridge Church, if Northridge Church is your home, you need to be plugged into a community group. You need to be attending a community group. Why do we say that? It's because of this, that presence is powerful. Think about it this way. As I was thinking about, our relationship with God, the Bible describes God as our heavenly Father. We are His children. We're children of God. Think about it in relationship to our relationship with God. When God chose to show His love to us or to demonstrate His love to us, notice God didn't just simply shout His love from heaven. No, He showed us His love here on earth. God didn't just shout His love from heaven. No, He showed us His love here on earth through the person of Jesus. He stripped Himself of His heavenly glory. He became one of us, God in the flesh with us. In fact, the Bible, one of the names that's given to describe Jesus is Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. God didn't shout His love from heaven. No, He showed us His love here on earth through the person of Jesus Christ. So here's what I want to do. I want to get really practical here. And I want to talk about what this looks like in our lives. And I want to share with you two thoughts that are really simple. They're almost offensively simple. But yet, I'm convinced, I can guarantee you that if you pursue these two thoughts, your relationships will look more like the relationships that God desires for you to have. And the first thought is this. It's just to be present. Be present with the people that God has placed around you, with the people that God has placed in your life. Be present. In fact, I would love it if all of us, when we walk out of here today, that we would be willing to live out this statement right here, that I will love people face to face, not just thumbs to thumbs. I will love people face to face, not just thumbs to thumbs. In fact, here's what I want to do across all of our campuses, no matter where you are at. I want us to say this statement out loud, whether you're at Greece, or Rondequoit, or Webster. And Webster, you better not let me down. I want to be able to hear you guys from here, okay? Let's all on three, let's say this out loud together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I will love people face to face, not just thumbs to thumbs. Let's be committed to this. Let's be committed to not just simply loving people through our phones or through our devices, but that we would love people face to face, in person. Paul says this in Romans 12. Verse 10, he says, be devoted to one another in love, meaning be committed to one another. Honor one another above yourselves. Meaning if there's a need in the life of someone that you know, what is it that you can do to meet that need, to reach out to that person and to serve that person? How can we be devoted to one another? Well, one of the ways I think we can do that is being present. Let me give you an example of this. Let's actually do a little bit of an exercise here. All right? So think with me on this. So let's say that you have a friend of yours, and they hit a big crisis in their life. They get in a significant car accident. They lose their job. Their marriage is on the ropes. Whatever it is, whatever this big circumstance is, what are some appropriate ways to show love to that person who is in need? I think we have a couple of options. Option number one is you could just simply pound out a text. You could send a text message to that friend in need and just say, hey, I heard what happened. So sorry to hear that. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. I'm thinking of you. I'm praying for you. That's an acceptable way in our culture today. Just pound out a text message to that friend. Well, let's take it a step further. Instead of just shooting a text message, maybe you actually grab your phone and you actually call that friend of yours. And you talk to them, you can hear their voice, you can hear the tone of their voice, you can ask them questions, you can find out more about what's going on. You can not just pray for them, but you can pray with them. That's an acceptable way to show love in our culture. But let's get a little crazy here, and let's just say that you don't just shoot the text message, you don't just call them, but what if you actually got in your car and actually drove to wherever your friend was to be with them in that time of need, when they're struggling, where you can come, you can put your arm around them, you can give them a hug, you can pray with them, you can be there with them. If it's a guy, maybe you punch him in the shoulder, try to cheer him up a little bit. Maybe you give him a flat-handed slap on the rear, say, come on, buddy, let's go. Make sure it's flat-handed, not cupped, flat. It's a very important distinction there. Just need to be aware of that, sorry, just had to say that. But you can be present, you can be there with your friend in their moment of need. And let me just ask you, what do you think is going to mean the most to that friend who's struggling? What's going to mean the most to them? It's going to be your presence, that you were there with them in their time of need. I remember, this was a while ago, several years ago. In fact, I had just become a pastor, and I remember getting a phone call from some friends of ours and got the news that they had lost one of their children at a very young age, way, way too soon. And I remember getting that phone call. And I got off the phone, I got in my car, and I'm driving over to their home. And the whole way I'm driving over there, I'm thinking like, man, what do I do? What do I say? How do I offer words of hope, words of encouragement, right? I'm the pastoral figure. I'm the spiritual figure. I should be able to, just give them incredible hope. And so I'm wrestling with this in my mind as I'm driving over there. And I get there, and I go inside the home. And when I enter the home, it's quiet. People aren't saying much. There's tears. People are just kind of huddled around one another. And we're there for a little while. My friend, towards the end, he just says, hey, would you be willing to pray? So I prayed and offered up, some pitiful prayer, trying to instill hope and comfort. And after that, I, hopped back in my car. I drove home. And I remember the whole way home just thinking like, man, I blew it. I should have done more. I should have said more. I could have offered more hope, more comfort. I was just beating myself up. And I'll never forget, a couple days later, my friend calls me and he says, hey, Nate, look, I just want you to know how much it meant to me and to my family that you were there, that you came over, that you were with us in one of the most difficult times of our lives. You see, what mattered to my friend wasn't what I said or what I didn't say. What mattered the most to him was my presence, that I was there, I was with them in a difficult moment of their life. Presence it's powerful. So what is it that you can do to be more present in the relationships that God has placed around you? Thought number one, be present. Thought number two is this, to be engaged. Because you can be present. We can be present, but yet be miles away mentally and emotionally because our mind is off somewhere else thinking about whatever it might be. We can be present, but yet not truly be there and be engaged. So we need to be engaged. I love what Peter, he says this in 1 Peter 4, verse 8. He says, above all, love each other deeply. The idea here is that if there's someone who's hurting, that they're the most important person in the room. That the focus is on them. How can we serve them? How can we help them? How can we be there for that person? So what is it that you need to do to be more engaged? I would suggest this, that maybe for some of you, you need to develop the discipline of unplugging on purpose. Maybe for some of you, you just need to set aside a day or two out of the week where you're just not going to go on social media. You're just not going to go on social media on those days. Or maybe there's certain times throughout the day that you're just going to say, okay, I'm not going to go on social media. Maybe the next time you go on a date with your husband or with your wife or with your girlfriend, boyfriend, or maybe you're just grabbing coffee with some friends, I would encourage you, maybe what you need to decide to do is, you know what, we're just going to leave our phones in the car. We're just going to leave our phones in the car. That way we can go enjoy this meal together, distraction-free, and truly be engaged. In fact, I would encourage you, it's summer community groups. They're on break right now. Oftentimes in the summer, community groups get together to do all sorts of social fun things. I would encourage you, the next time you get together with your community group, one of you, whoever it is in the group, just, speak up and just say, hey, look, I'd love it if all of us, if we would be willing to, over these next few hours we spend time together, if we could just make a commitment to not post anything on Facebook. No pictures, no comments. We're just going to be together. We're just going to be with our group, with our friends, and enjoy these few hours together. I would encourage you to think about that. What is it that you can do to be more engaged? Back in the spring, our staff team, we were down in Pennsylvania for a conference. And while we were there one evening, we went out to dinner and we went to Chick-fil-A. And when we were at Chick-fil-A and I was ordering my food and checking out, I was blown away by the sign that I saw on the register. In fact, I took a picture of it. And this is Caleb. He was nice enough to smile, which is great. But they're doing this thing called a cell phone challenge. And the idea behind this cell phone challenge is that when you go and you order your food, you can request a cell phone coupe. In fact, I have one here. It's this little box. And what you do is, everyone in your group, you make a commitment that while you eat, you're going to silence your phones, you're going to put it in this box, you're going to seal up the box, and you're going to place it at your table while you eat. Why? So that you can be engaged, so that you can have a distraction-free meal and truly be with the person or the people that you're with while you're eating dinner. And then what you do is, at the end of your meal, you go back up to the register, you give them the cell phone coupe back, you take your phones out, and then everyone gets a free ice cream. Right? How amazing is that? That is so cool. Chick-fil-A going way out of their way to help people be engaged. Why? Because that comes out of what we looked at in John 13, right? Where Jesus says, look, the world will know that you are followers of mine by the way that you love one another. What is it that you can do to be more engaged? Maybe for some of you, you just need to silence the notifications for any social media platform on your phone. Just silence those notifications. Maybe you need to bury Facebook, Instagram, Twitter like a couple of pages back on your phone or on your tablet, so it's just not as easy, for you to access it. I don't know what it is for you, but here's what I want to encourage you to do. It's to think about how you can be present, how you can be engaged. And I know right now, probably even some of you are thinking about like, oh man, every time my phone beeps, buzzes, chirps, whistles, vibrates, whatever it might do, right? And there's this FOMO rising up within you of like who said what, who liked what, who replied, and what's happening, what's going on. Here's what I would encourage you to think about. Look, that when you get to the end of your life, it's not going to be about how many likes you received. It's going to be all about how much love you showed. Remember what Jesus said. The world will know that you are followers of mine by the way that you love one another. So how is it that you can practice the power of presence? And look, we should be more concerned about missing out on what's happening on here. We should be more concerned about missing out on the person right in front of you. And yes, let's leverage technology all day long to be a blessing to other people when it comes to relationships. Let's do that. Let's leverage it, but let's never let technology replace the power of face-to-face relationships. Let's live this out. Let's practice the power of presence this week. Let me pray. God, I thank you for your word that challenges us, that reminds us of your truth. And God, I thank you for these words that were penned thousands of years ago, but yet can still apply to us today. And God, I pray that we would be committed to loving others with the same love that you have shown to us, that we this week would work hard to practice the power of presence when it comes to our relationships. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.